Ouais, fais café. Oh putain. Non mais...
Pourquoi?
Bah t'es vachement à gauche, quand même. Putain. Ça va être tendu. Là tu prends à gauche après. Oh là là, tu vas te prendre le... Oh.
Ah oui, d'accord.
Bah oui. Tu roules à gauche. Tu roules à gauche, ouais. C'est en quatrième là. Première chute d'eau du voyage, sans doute pas la dernière. Un jour 3, on a roulé 1h45, un truc comme ça, vers le nord, pas loin d'Aberdeen, pour voir le Dunnottar Castle. On a eu de la neige à moitié fondue sur la route, on a eu de la pluie, mais là il fait pas trop mauvais. Et en fait apparemment au niveau météo on est dans les 2 jours où il va faire plus froid, et là il fait 4 degrés, donc j'ai sorti la chapka. On a encore plusieurs couches de vêtements, toi t'as la parka, au moins il pleut pas. Et la vue est belle, waouh. On est parti très tôt ce matin, on s'est levé à 6h30, on est parti à 7h30. Ce qui fait qu'il est 9h30 là. Et du coup, il y a quasiment personne. On a presque le château juste pour nous, avec les mouettes. Château juste pour nous là. On sait où vont nos 10,50 £, dans la tonte. C'est pas la toute première qu'il faut que tu prennes, mais celle en face, tout droit. Il y a des feux ici en plus. On est arrivé à notre prochaine destination, qui est une plage avec il y a plein de phoques. Et du coup, pour l'occasion, on va prendre le trépied et le téléobjectif. J'allais dire, avec la chance qu'on a, on n'aura personne sur la plage. Mais en fait, si, il y a bien toute une colonie de phoques. What the fuck? On de voir des phoques dans leur espace naturel. On n'a pas le droit d'aller de l'autre côté en fait de la plage. C'est une zone naturelle protégée quoi. Ah, on les entend gueuler là. Ça fait un bordel. On se croirait pas en Écosse. Il y en a un qui va servir là. Sacrée colonie quand même. Ça sent le phoque, ça sent pas. Ouais, mais peut-être que si on passe de l'autre côté, ça pue. Ouais. Je vais m'enfoncer dans le sable tellement c'est lourd avec le matos. Eh ouais, c'est sport. Évidemment j'ai enlevé une couche parce que il fait pas si froid que ça. Avec le soleil là, il fait même bon, voire chaud. Mais bon, ça c'est la phase été des 4 saisons de la journée, c'est ça? Ça y est, on vient d'arriver dans la distillerie et on a le droit des cocktails en main pour un accueil en attendant que tout le monde arrive. Oui, j'ai goûté celui au whisky, c'est un peu spé.
Oui.
On sent bien le whisky. Hein.
Oui. C'est comme ça.
A single malt is from a single distillery using malted barley. So at Strathisla, we make Strathisla. Take lots of different whiskies from different distilleries and combine them together. Okay, so that forms a blend. That's single malt whiskies and grain whiskey as well. Okay, not just single malt. So a grain whiskey is made from anything that's not barley. Strathisla Distillery, we are the spiritual home of 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆 as well. So over 90% of what we make goes into 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆, the blend. And this was the first distillery that they ever bought in 1950. So we are very well known for our iconic twin pagodas. We're a very, very beautiful distillery, I have to say. And we have been around for such a long time. So we were established in 1786. So we're the oldest continuous working distillery in the Highlands of the Speyside area. Now a little later, on a farm, we have two brothers. These were James and John 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆. So that is where our name comes from. In 1836, they decided to leave their family farm and go and find work. So they travelled to the city of Aberdeen. And James went into an emporium, so selling lots of goods and spices from all around the world. And it was here his passion for kind of different tastes and smells came alive. And he grew such a reputation for the quality of his products that he was selling in the shop that in 1843 they got the royal warrant to supply the family when they came up to Balmoral Castle. So this is why 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆. Now, James was very much focused on Speyside whiskey, so they were quite fruity and floral back in those days, but very bitter, okay, harsh, and raw and fiery. So we didn't drink whiskey back then, so James wanted to change this, so he started mixing whiskies together and made it easier, richer, and smoother, and it worked, and people started drinking whiskey. Now the brothers are long gone, and it's up to the master blenders, whose job it is to make the blends the same today as they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, as when James and John first started creating them. We launched it in the States, and we even smuggled the bottles in during the Prohibition, which we probably shouldn't admit, okay? But because we did that, 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆 became so popular, it then went all around the globe. So 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆 is in over 150 different countries now. Strath in Gaelic means shallow valley, okay? So a lot of distilleries have Glen in the title, yeah, so Glen is steep valley. So we are shallow valley of the river Isla. That is our name. Okay, so yeah, we use lots of water in our whiskey. We generally tend to have warmer and milder weather, slightly less rainfall than say the west coast of Scotland, and it's perfect for growing barley. We don't malt here anymore, however we used to. So this room here, through to the next room, this is our old malting floor back in the day. So what we used to do is soak the barley to trick it into just germinating, to grow a little bit. All the energy, the starches in there will be activated and they'll start to turn into sugar. We needed to blow hot air through it to dry it out. So it was someone's job back in the day to walk up and down all day, every day, raking wet barley to stop it matting, throw it over their shoulder, and they spread it all out for hours and hours and hours at a time. Now, back then, they used to get deformities in their shoulder for doing that. So they would call it monkey shoulder. You see it? You see the name whiskey monkey shoulder? That's where it comes from. And then we need to start creating alcohol. So any ideas of what we need? Yeast, perfect. This is a really old mill. It was built in 1950, and these have got a good story behind them. And that at one time, 𝒑𝒊𝒆, the company, was really successful. Their mills were so well made, they never broke down, okay? They required really little maintenance, and if you were a distillery or a brewery, you wanted one of these mills. The trouble was, once everyone had one, you didn't need another one, so the company went bankrupt because their mills were so good, alright? There is only one guy in the UK that can maintain these mills. He lives down in Wales. Well, 5 tons of barley come through and they just get crushed, so we're exposing the sugars that were made in the malting process. And we call this now grist, okay? G-R-I-S-T. 20% needs to be the husk or the outside of the barley, okay? Any more, and when we add our water, it drains too quickly and we don't get the sugar. 68% is the grits. So, you see all the white that's in there, okay? All the light stuff, that is what we're looking for, that's the sugar. And you should all recognize the last bit. Okay, we have the flour, and that is 12%. And again, too much of this, and we add hot water, and it goes too thick. 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆. These are our very traditional wooden washbacks. They last between 30 and 50 years. The two that we've replaced this year were 48 years old. But the really cool thing about these is that they are handmade on site. We are a listed building. We cannot take the roof off. We cannot take the walls out. So we have some of the last remaining original walls here from 1786, okay? This is why we are a listed building, because of this area. Normally, when you come into a still house, there is loads of room around the stills, okay? The ceilings are really, really high. However, if you have a look, we've had to fit the stills in between the roof in the beams. So they are steam heated from underneath. We're separating the alcohol. At the back, you can see copper columns. So those are our condensers, so we are cooling our liquid down. Now, everything we make comes through these sinks. So we can measure qualities, quantities. Now that's about 25% alcohol that's going to come into this bowl here, and we're going to send it into this tank here. From here, we do a second distillation. So that goes to the next still over. That spirit is up to 90% alcohol. We actually need to split it up into 3 sections so that we can separate the bit that we want from anything that we don't want, okay? So these sections are called the head, the heart, and the tail. And the first part off of the still is the head of the run, which is your strongest stuff. We don't give you this. It's 90% alcohol, full of methanol. It can make you go blind when you drink it, so we don't want you to have it. After 20 minutes, and the heart of the run, the bit that we do want, goes into this bowl here. Now, this runs from 75% to 65% alcohol, and you can drink it and not go blind. Good news. Okay, so that's for 2 hours, and then they make another cut, and the tail of the run will come through, so that's 65% alcohol down to 0. It's not going to make you go blind, but it doesn't taste very nice, so we don't want that bit either. So the tail and the head are going to go in here, but we do not waste it. And the whole thing goes to the willow wine still to be distilled, so it's a continuous process. All you need to know is good stuff goes that way, and the bad stuff goes round again until we can send it that way. Every distillery you go to has different shaped stills. It gives you different characters. The stills are huge, they're so tall. And you get loads of interaction of the spirit as it leaves the still. Have the opposite, stills that are shaped like onions, okay? So you don't get a huge amount of interaction when the spirit leaves the still. And it gives it creamy, oily character. We're not really tall, we're not really short, okay? So I find this really hard to describe because we're just like there in the middle between the two. What you have with your first one is Strathisla, 12 years old, okay, 40% strength. This is known as a typical Speyside whisky.
En plus, on peut faire notre propre blend, notre propre blend.
Is there any more distilleries that you go
No, the only one. Yeah,
Oh,
the only one.
distillery.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you picked the best one.
Yeah,
so.
good. Good choice then. Yeah, so many things to do
That's great.
in Scotland, so.
West Coast is beautiful as well. So Scotland's got very, very different scenery.
Tu sais, quand on était au Scotch Whisky Experience, il disait que c'était là qu'il y avait la plus grande concentration de tonneaux, je crois. Et elle disait qu'il y avait plus de tonneaux remplis de whisky que d'habitants en Écosse. Du coup, ce qu'elle disait aussi, c'est qu'on peut utiliser un tonneau jusqu'à 4 fois, parce qu'il brûle l'intérieur, une fois qu'il a été utilisé une fois. Et il gratte et il rebrûle, et ensuite ils peuvent réutiliser jusqu'à ce que il n'y ait plus d'épaisseur. Ça en fait des tonneaux. C'est la rivière Spey. C'est elle qui donne son nom à Speyside. On est arrivé dans notre hôtel aux abords du parc national de 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆, puisque demain on va y aller. Donc on peut cocher encore d'autres actions de la to-do list. Bon on apprendre plus sur le whisky, ça c'était déjà plus ou moins fait le premier jour. On en a encore appris plus pour voir des phoques, ça c'est fait. Demain on va se couvrir d'autant plus que la journée est prévue comme la plus froide de la semaine. On a des températures qui descendent en dessous de 0, donc c'est la journée la plus froide normalement. La montagne se dévoile, 𝒑𝒉𝒐𝒏𝒊𝒆 National Park. Hier c'était l'été, aujourd'hui c'est l'hiver. Tous les détails de la vie de l'époque. Et maintenant on est au Loch Ness.